And I'm standing here on the pier of the west coast of my island. It's a beautiful sunset, gorgeous weather, and I'm about to record my weekly show. So I'm going to walk to my house, that is my virtual house, to record in my podcasting studio, which I've adapted a little bit since the last time I used it. Hey, I hear the sound of what I think is a present. There you go. Let's shoot that one out of the sky for a sec, because you never know what's in one of those. I'm going to get my slingshot. Hold it. Yeah, I can still shoot that one down. There we go. Now let's see what Santa brought us. And it's a DJ's turntable. That's something I already had. I'm very proud of my golden rose here. This is apparently one of the rarest flowers in the game, and it just sprung up in between these pink ones. Very, very cool. All right, so I've been adding quite a bit to my city lately. Done a lot of building, terraforming, as they call it officially. I still got my main street here, but I connected a few of the upper terraces here. So if I remove that, if I go through this used to be blocked off, but I noticed that it's much easier if I created a slope here to go directly to the main square. But I can still go to the right here and walk through this hidden upper alley. And from there I can get to, well, the end of my current expansion. This is, you see, I completely removed my my trees here. I used to have an orchard, is that what it's called? The fruit trees. I moved it, I took them all off and moved them to another part of the island so I can continue the city. And then here I can walk around this. Oh, wait, I think I could. I thought I could, but... Oh, wait, maybe I made a mistake. I thought I could cross here to... Or maybe it's up here. I sometimes forget about my own little connecting itineraries. So, yep. This works. And then if I can't jump there too. I forgot. I changed it too much. Anyway, that's not where I'm going. I am heading towards my house. And it now has a gorgeous blue facade and a nice black door. And before I continue, I want to quickly go to YouTube and see if I can find my own stream so I can watch the comments, because I didn't notice that if I was streaming, I couldn't read the comments, and that's part of the fun. There we go. It's probably going to create an echo. Stopped it right in time, and then I'm just going to open the chat and do a pop-up window. Now I'm going to pause. Here we go. Now I can see who is there. We have Lawrence and Nate Dogs, 212, ARF Trooper, Exile, Don Bosco held, the gaming politician. Very, very good. All right. Well, welcome again. So this is going to be another podcasting session, and instead of you watching me behind a backdrop of a green screen, I figured it's much more fun to actually take you on a tour of the island, so that these videos that I do of my show actually show you something that is more interesting, more varied to watch than just me. I'm just going to make a cup of coffee here in the kitchen before I start my show. It's not a full-fledged show with guests yet, but I did make my kitchen a little bit more. I don't know, with more utensils here. I'm going to grind some coffee beans. Hey, Matthias, welcome also to my island, and then I'm just going to light the fire. This is actually a coffee machine that they use quite a bit in Italy. I'm sure you're familiar with it. You put some coffee in the middle part there, and then there's some water in the lower part. You heat it up, and it kind of flows through a little pipe in the middle of that thing, through the coffee. It makes for a very, very nice flavor. Much more intense than regular drip coffee. All right, that should do it. Let's turn that off. And then I've already eaten breakfast, so I'm not going to heat up. I'm just going to take a cup of coffee. Maybe I'll make some cake here. Let me see. I have to weigh the ingredients. There you go. And then I'm just going to make some dough. There you go. I love how all these devices work in this game. It's amazing. Is there anything in this? Oh wow! I've never looked in my freezer. It actually works, and for some reason it wants me to change. It thinks I'm storing clothes in there. I don't know. I see some pizza boxes. Hey, Kieran, welcome to the stream. So let's head over to the podcast, and that is in the room here. And maybe during the show, I'll be walking around a little bit just to change it up, because I noticed that last time I recorded the entire podcast in this studio, it was a little bit boring visually. I upgraded my room a little bit, changed it. I've got a nice flower, or a nice pot with a plant there in the corner. I also have a record player now that is actually working. As you can tell, it has a record that is turning, and I can put on different types of music. The only downside is that I don't know how to turn it off. If I click on it, it just shows me which songs I can play. But I just can't turn it off for some reason. It's really weird. Maybe if I click on this? Oh, that's it. I just have to deselect the song. Don Bosco Held says, I didn't know you were Dutch since yesterday. I know this channel is for the most part English, but just wanted to say, ik ben blij for you dat de channel goed gaat, man. Keep up the grind. Well, thank you so much. Righty. How about the volume control at the top? Yeah, I tried that out, but that doesn't work. So I've got my my boat here, my board games. But look at that poster on the wall. That is the confrontation between Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. And that is on Bespin, of course, one of the coolest parts of the movie. And then I have got another Star Wars poster. After all, I'm a Star Wars fan. It's on the other side of the room. And look at that. It's right behind the record player. And you know who that is. Baby Yoda with his cup of tea or whatever he was drinking there. So I wanted to make these two editions. Let's see if there's anything on TV before I start. It's just a cartoon for kids, so I won't be playing that. I like my house. Oh, since we're here, let me show you the rest, because I don't think I showed you. Wait, you know what? I'm going to keep the rest for the show itself, because there's the segment of The Peculiar Bunch, which is kind of about religion and stuff. And I have a chapel that I refurbished yesterday, so I want to show you that. I'm just going to sit here at my desk. I'm just pretending that my Nintendo Switch is recording the podcast. I've got my phone for Skype calls. Not that I'm going to call anyone, but this is where I'm going to record my show. I'm so excited that I actually have 2 Star Wars posters in my podcasting room. It is even cooler than in real life. It's unbelievable. All right, let's get going. Do I have my ducks in a row? I'm gonna look at my my jingles here. Hope you can hear them. If I play them, I think you will be able to hear them. And if you have anything to ask, feel free to use the chat room for that, even if you're watching this after the fact. And I always read every comment, and I don't always have time to answer, but you never type a comment just for nothing. That's just what I wanted to say. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the show. Well, hello there, and welcome to my weekly show. I'm Father Roderick, podcasting again from the virtual innards of my digital island here in Animal Crossing, New Horizons. That shouldn't really make a difference for you, but if you're curious what this set looks like, take a look over at youtube.com/Father Roderick. And this week, too, I can welcome a couple of new patrons, people that support me on a monthly basis. I've got a whole list here. We're still working on it. So Inge is using the patron system to keep track of everyone who is donating and who's adding or increasing or sometimes also canceling their donations. I noticed that the list that I currently have in front of me is not current. So don't worry if you have become a patron lately, your name will be mentioned. We'll just have to give Inge a little bit more time to sort things out.
Do you know what's going on? This is what's happening in your world.
Face it, Catholics rule. We got Boston, South America, the good part of Ireland, and we're making serious inroads in Mozambique, baby.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
All right, so one of the things that has kept us all busy, and Inge too, is the transition of the website on which I used to publish these podcasts. And that used to be Trideo.com. Trideo is Trideo.com. That is the general foundation that is kind of like the umbrella for what I do. But it's not the most recognizable brand. Father Roderick is much easier to remember. I did have that domain name. I just didn't do anything with it. I think it forwarded to my YouTube page. Well, we finally built a website. And if you type it in, fatherroderick.com, you will see that it looks actually quite a bit like other video on demand platforms that you're used to. I did that on purpose, or I asked that on purpose, because I wanted to have something that when you visit the site, you immediately know how to use it. And I wanted a website. What was that? I heard something. I heard a sound. I don't know what it was. But anyway, so I wanted to gather all my content, and it's actually a lot if you look at it, the lists here, in a very simple, easy to use interface. So right here on the front page, you see my latest video. In this case, it is my last podcast. So you see me in the same podcasting room as that I'm sitting right now. And then right underneath, you've got the big buttons that bring you to the main categories, or at least some of the main categories. It's a Star Wars commentary, because that's kind of a staple ingredient of what I do in new media. There's always Star Wars in there. I've got a special category for my Lego adventures, and I'm super excited that yesterday I finally restarted my Lego streams. It's always been a lot of fun to chat with people building Legos. I actually should create a Lego room here in Animal Crossing as well. So I've got the Lego streams. Mass for Geeks, that's also a pretty recent initiative, but is very popular. And it's not just the Mass or the homilies, but we also did something new this past Sunday. After Mass, I sat down with Inge, and we're going to have some special guests on as well. And we did a bit of an impromptu kind of talk show-like, or it's more of a chat with the audience, but we're definitely going to also target that to a geek audience, and we'll discuss Star Trek, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Marvel movies, anything like that, but always in the kind of in the format of a conversation with the audience. So it's I really love the first episode that we did. I think we're going to call it Digital Pizza with Father Roderick or something like that. We were planning on getting real pizza, because Mass is now a little bit earlier during the day, so we finish right at dinner time. And so I figured, well, if we order pizza, that may actually be a cool I don't know. It's just a cool activity to combine with a chat. That's not really what you would do, right? You would eat pizza on pizza night and you talk about your favorite movies. So why not do that with the community? Then I've got a category. It's called Let's Play Video Games. That is also one of the things that people seem to enjoy on my channel. It is when I play video games and show the world how bad I am at video games. But it is also a lot of fun to hang out with people. It's a lot of this content is social content. But in contrast with that, I have another category called travel and vlogs, and there is a hidden category that is called documentaries. And those contain my more cinematic, TV-like productions. And that is only going to get bigger now that we're translating some of the documentaries and readapting them for an international audience. So super, super excited about this new website. I think it looks lovely. If you find any bugs, if there's anything that we can improve, then make sure to send me a note. There is one final category all the way on the bottom, and that is especially important if you are a podcast listener, and it shows you the last couple of podcasts. And this is a mix of this one that you're currently listening to or watching, and also the walk and some other stuff that we're going to put up. I got a request from some of my followers asking me for an audio version of my Sunday homilies. Now, I don't know if that's just one person, but someone told me I just don't have time to watch the Mass live or to go to YouTube, but I would really enjoy a podcast version of that. So if there are more people like that, let me know as well, and I will see what I can do. And with that, it is time for our first segment, and let me turn on the TV and see what's on, because it is time to talk about TV. And, well, it seems to be a cartoon right now. I don't watch that many cartoons. I used to be a huge fan of cartoons when I was a kid. Tom and Jerry is my absolute favorite. And also Speedy Gonzales and what else was there? Calamero? Anyway.
How do you not like movies?
They're predictable. Like, the guy gets the girl and that kid sees dead people and Darth Vader is Luke's father.
Not liking movies is like not liking puppies.
They're fine. I just get bored and never make it to the end.
You know, you need a movie education. You need a movication. I'm going to give it to you.
Someone in the chat says, that's a great podcasting room there, but what you're lacking is a statue of Our Lady. I'm not sure if Nintendo Animal Crossing has statues of Our Lady, but if you find any, let me know. For now, I just have the boat, kind of a biblical thing, right? The boat. I'll just pretend this is one of the boats that Jesus went on. All right, so while the TV is playing in the background, I want to talk about a TV show that I've picked up again, Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine is the only Star Trek series that I have not completed yet. I've seen all the others, love them. Deep Space Nine, because it's so big and because it's more of a bit of a, it's not a sitcom, but it's a more static show. I initially disregarded it and thought, well, it's just a cheap version of Star Trek. It doesn't have that exploration element in it that I loved so much. It's much more of a it feels a bit more like Babylon 5, and actually it is quite similar story-wise to Babylon 5. So I kind of never really checked it out until I think 2 years ago, when people kept telling me, you gotta watch it, it's so good. So currently in season 4, and yesterday I saw another episode. So this is where Ronald D. Moore comes in and wrote some of those scripts. And I think he's even an executive producer on the show, or I saw something like that in the end credits. Ronald D. Moore really wanted to get that show to another level and gave it much more of an overarching storyline. And the last season 3, the end of season 3 and the beginning of season 4 already gives you like the first hints at the bigger story that's going on. It's really cool, but there are also a lot of standalone episodes. The one that I saw yesterday was about, so there's this this one crew member who is a female, but has not always been female. It's a certain symbiont alien, I suppose, or whatever, and they change hosts over the course of centuries, and so they can be an old man, and then when it's not really reincarnation, but when they take hold of another host, they can be a child or a woman, or they can swap genders and everything. And so this is not just a unique case. This episode that I watched sees another one of those symbionts in the body of a woman visit Deep Space Nine, and it turns out that these two were married in a previous situation where one was a woman and the other one was a man, and the code or whatever, the morals or the ethics of this particular I don't know how to call it. Is it an alien race or whatever? But it prohibits former amorous relationships to continue once the symbionts have changed hosts. However, love is stronger than rules, and so these two fall in love again, or have never really fallen out of love, and that turns into a bit of a forbidden romance, and then there is a kiss between two women actors, of course, against the backdrop of that story. So previously they were married man and woman, and then they kiss, but it is still... I suppose back then, I don't know when this series was made, definitely more than 10 years ago, must have still been a bit of a taboo breaking episode. You know, the first female-only kiss or something like that is a romantic kiss. It's not just a kiss on the forehead or anything. So it was interesting from that perspective. The rest was a little bit lackluster, and it had a bit of an unsatisfying ending where, well... Am I going to spoil it? Anyway, no, I'm not going to spoil it. But it doesn't have any consequences. It doesn't really change anything, at least I think. So I was like, yeah, I see what they're doing. I see what they're trying to do. But I thought that this episode could have been like a multiple episode story arc. After all, this is a pretty traumatic situation where you realize that, you know, you can not longer love someone that you actually shared a lifetime with. That is a very interesting story theme. Anyway, so Deep Space Nine, I'm definitely going to continue that probably on a daily basis. I really want to get through this and finish the entire season before the new season of Discovery will be launched on Netflix. It's on Netflix here. It's CBS All Access in the United States. And then I saw something else. I'm going to turn off this TV because it's very noisy. Can I do that? Yeah, there you go. Okay. Quiet. Nice. Just going to sit behind my desk. That is, if my avatar actually wants to sit down. Yeah, there you go. I saw a documentary that I discovered on Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime in the Netherlands has always been very modest in its offerings, but lately, since they now have a Dutch Amazon website, they've been trying to get new people to sign up, and so they have expanded their catalog tremendously, and they do have a lot of interesting stuff that has never been on Netflix and never probably will be on Netflix. One of these is a documentary that I've heard about, and I was looking forward to it tremendously, but I never thought it would ever be on, you know, in theater. It definitely didn't hit our theaters, and I wondered if we would ever see it in the Netherlands because it's about World War I, and well, as you know, Holland did not participate in World War I. So it is made by one of my favorite directors of all time, Peter Jackson, and it's based on archival footage. Film footage that was shot during and after World War I. It's called They Will Not Grow Old, and I think is that it? I'm trying to find a trailer so I can play it for you. They Shall Not Grow Old. It sounds a little bit more classy. They Shall Not Grow Old, and when I watched the trailer, I was struck by how they used the archival footage and improved it. They even colored it. They did a massive computer restoration on all that material, and it looked spectacular. I thought the entire documentary would be like that, but it is. It's actually a just part of the movie, and it starts with the original material. So it's like a 4:3 aspect ratio. It's very grainy. There are lots of artifacts. The speed, because back then, of course, filming was done manually, so it depended on the speed of the hand of the operator, camera operator, how many frames per second you would have. It would be variable. So it looks like any other black and white, very old archival footage. But then at one point when the war starts and you follow these soldiers, and I also have to explain that in order to tell the story, they use audio interviews with soldiers that have fought in war. A lot of that material is also old, archival, but because it is audio, you don't notice how when these were recorded. These could be radio recordings from the 50s or the 60s. I didn't look it up, but some of this stuff sounds as if it was recorded decades ago. But as a running commentary on the images, it is extremely well edited, very impressive, and the storytelling is amazing. I mean, there you see the hand of the master. This is not just a documentary. This is high-class documentary storytelling. And I think that people underestimate the amount of work that must have gone into that. And then once you see all the preparations, that is still with the grainy footage, and then you follow them to France, and they enter the war, and all of a sudden the image expands, and it's colored, and it is pace corrected. So they removed all the variable frame rate and everything, and it is stunning. It is so stunning what they've done. And you can still see, of course, that it's been digitally enhanced and everything, but the story is so well told and so gripping and sometimes also so shocking that you kind of completely forget that you're watching archival material. And in this case, it's so much more than just a gimmick. It sucks you into the reality of the war. And I've never, ever seen an archival footage feeling so contemporary in a certain way. I don't know how to explain it. It's something you have to experience. It blew me away. I was already impressed by the trailer, but now that I've seen the documentary itself, it is amazing. It's so great. I've heard about the First World War in my history lessons. I remember I went to France and I did a radio show back then, or I was one of the hosts of a radio show. And for a week, I toured France, and we visited all sorts of places. And every day I would make an audio documentary for Dutch radio. And this one day we went to a field where there had been this massive massacre, soldiers killing each other. It was very gruesome, and I remember that we walked through the fields, and it looked so peaceful and calm, and there were cows grazing and everything, and birds and butterflies. But the person who showed me around told me the story of what really happened there, including that they used poisonous gas and everything, and it was according to him, that war was so cruel compared to even World War II or more contemporary wars. And he was like, because we don't have images, we think that, well, World War I, they had old airplanes, they didn't have all the destructive technology that even the Germans had in World War II. So how terrible could it be? Well, he said this is one of the most cruel wars in recent history. This movie shows you what he meant and brings it to life. And I didn't check, but I wouldn't be surprised if that area that I visited, where one of the big battles was fought, that is also part of the footage that they shot. It is amazing. I'm going to play the trailer now because this demands a little bit of audio. So you see the black and white footage here, soldiers marching. They even left in all the blemishes. And there you see the tanks, and now the image is turning into color, widescreen. Absolutely, a groundbreaking documentary produced and directed by Peter Jackson.
I was 16 years old, and my father allowed me to go.
I was just turned 17 at the time.
I was 16. I was 15 years.
You realize that this war was fought by kids.
They were frightened children and had to be made into soldiers.
All right, boys, here it comes. We're in the pictures.
I gave every part of my youth to do a job.
A deeply human experience, that's absolutely true. It's not told from the perspective of tactics or anything, or even politics. But it shows you what it does to, young boys that are basically fighting in the war. Many of which lied about their age just so they could partake, and they had a very romantic view of the war, and then, of course, reality turned out to be very, very different. Travel back in time, the trailer says. That's how it feels. To experience history. This is not hyperbole. With those who were actually there, it feels like you've been part of the experience after you've seen this. It's 100-year-old film footage, stunningly transformed.
There was a job to be done, and you just got on and did it.
The Great War, in color and 3D. This was in 3D? I did not realize that this had been filmed in 3D. Okay, now I need to get the 3D version, because I've only seen it in 2D. I did not know that they did 3D conversion as well. That makes it even more impressive. Wow. Unbelievable. Yes, it is an experience, and it shows you how horrible war was and is. And in that respect, I think the accomplishment is not just technical or storytelling, but it is also deeply human. It is rare to see documentaries about wars be so where the story is told from such a personal perspective, and since it's still you're listening to the people that lived through it and lived to tell the story, it feels more real than anything. There's no voiceover here. Like, back then in France, the 1st Regiment moved north, and no, you just hear stories of like, oh, the food was terrible, and sometimes we would just what did they cook? It was just there were some stories about they would eat bread full of mold and everything, and they show you the images. Spectacular. This should have a much bigger audience. I hope that where you live, you're able to have access to this documentary. And I'm really going to look on Amazon right away to see if I can find the 3D trailer for that. And with that, it is time to move over to the next room in my house. I'm going to the chapel because it is time to meet the Peculiar Bunch.
Catholics rock!
Here at the Peculiar Bunch, we're always happy to tell you everything you always wanted to know about Catholics and their faith, but you were afraid to ask.
Catholics can be a peculiar bunch. No meat on Friday.
Oh, meat? What do they eat? Light bulbs?
No, we don't eat light bulbs. But we do have our customs and traditions and liturgies and whatnot. And I'm so excited that here in Animal Crossing, I do have my own chapel.
Man, you guys got more crazy rules than Blockbuster Video.
So for those of you that are just listening to the audio version, you're not missing out anything. And if you're curious, you can always go to YouTube and check this latest video out. But I'll just describe you where I am. This is a chapel that I built. Actually, I started building it a couple of days ago, but I made it even nicer yesterday evening. So it's a rectangular room. It's got stained glass windows. It got a beautiful pipe organ with golden pipes. It looks very lush and expensive. And then there are some benches nicely decorated with flowers. Everything is a bit brown and marble and beige. Very, very nice. I've got 2 big television cameras in the back because, of course, I'm streaming my Masses live during Corona times. It's got an altar with a couple of candles burning on it. And there is also an ambo with a Bible on it, from which we can read Bible stories. And I think I could even sit on the organ seat and I'll just let you listen to the organ. I can't play really, but it does work. You hear that? Okay. This is very realistic. This is how I would try it out. Now I do know how to play the piano, but I'm not a very good organ player. So that made me actually think, building this chapel, I was like, but would it be possible to celebrate an in-game liturgy? And at first that sounded wrong. I was like, I'm not gonna celebrate Mass with a digital avatar. That would be sacrilegious. But then I'm thinking, well, actually, I think there is a way to celebrate a liturgy in a virtual space like this. It's the same thing like with virtual reality. It's virtual reality in the sense that it's not really there. It is just digital, but it is still a reality, maybe not the reality. And I've always believed that God can be in any reality, right? He actually wants to be in every reality. So why not in virtual reality? Why not in an in-game reality? So what I first thought would be impossible and maybe even would get me, grounded or criticized on YouTube if I would do that. Now I'm thinking, well, maybe I am going to experiment with this. After all, I came up with this digital chapel during Corona times. God is trying to find new ways to reach people. And if I can gather some faithful on this island, some digital faithful, real people playing this game, but still participating in this liturgy in a virtual way, why couldn't we read the Bible? Why couldn't I preach? Why couldn't God work inside a game? It's not that different from, for instance, what I do with the Mass for Geeks, where everything, like 99.9% of the participants during Mass for Geeks are not really there. Well, they actually are there, but they're in different parts of the world. We have people from Jamaica, from Asia watching, a whole bunch of people from Europe and from the United States. There were some people from South America there, and they are truly there and feels like they're truly there, but they're separated sometimes by an entire ocean or by half of the globe. And yet I know from their comments that the liturgy is affecting real change and is helping them in their faith and is inspiring them. So if that works with a Mass that is televised, why wouldn't it work in, well, it's not Mass, of course, but for Mass, you can't virtually. Part of the sacramentality of Mass is that it has to take place in a real space. It's the same reason why we don't have digital confessions. You can't have a confession robot or something like that. Sacraments are always a real encounter. It has to be physical in a certain way. Why? Because that is what Jesus did. He went to the people. He touched them. He wanted to be physically present. And it's only later on that the apostles write letters, but always to real communities that would gather in their homes and celebrate liturgy. Later on, they would build churches because they wanted to be together physically. So there is this physical aspect of the sacramental life of the church, at least in the Catholic tradition, is of vital importance, but that doesn't mean that it is the only way for God to reach us and to inspire us. So when I'm standing behind the altar here, maybe I cannot celebrate the Eucharist, but I can preach. We can read the Bible. Actually, what I would like to do is an experiment. I'm now part of a Discord server from other Catholics, including 2 or 3 priests that are also playing Animal Crossing. I want to invite them over and maybe record a little service or evening prayer or something like that in preparation of Sunday Mass. I'm thinking this game is super popular with teenagers, and not just teenagers. I'm playing this too, and I'm not a teenager anymore. But I can imagine that we will gather here with some, and it sounds so weird, real digital parishioners. So the benches right here in front of me would be filled with how many people can I fit in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I could put it up. I can put some chairs next to the organ, maybe for me and for an acolyte, or someone who's doing the reading, so we can actually read from the Bible, and I could do a little meditation on the biblical text. And I think that maybe the entirety would just last for 15 minutes, but it would be fun to watch. We could even do a little back and forth between me and the people that are partaking in this service, and have a little conversation about the gospel. And that in itself, I think, could help people maybe experience Sunday Mass in an even more intense way, because they've already heard the readings, they have thought about it, and so when they are present, either in a real parish or digitally by watching a Mass that is streamed, I think that it's almost as if the field has already been prepared. I realize now that I'm wearing my cap here in church. That is, even in the digital world, it's not the most, it's not the polite thing to do. So I'm going to take out my wand. I actually have a magic wand. Is that sacrilegious? Use a magic wand here in church. And I have actually special clothes for in church. So I'm going to use my wand, and I'm going to put on my white chasuble that I designed myself. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. And boom, now I'm wearing a white chasuble. And I also am wearing a halo that someone gifted me. Not because I'm that holy, but it just felt appropriate. If there is one place on my island that I should wear a halo, it's in church, because the sacraments actually help us to become holy. So this, of course, is a temporary halo. It can be removed at any time by my own stupidity and sin. But right now, I'm kind of happy that I have my own chasuble. And it's a lot of fun. Max in the chat says, I miss confession. I haven't been able to go, and I don't think they allow confession through Zoom. No, it's exactly what I tried to explain. We don't have digital confession, but I'm pretty sure that confession will be restored. Actually, it is already allowed in many churches. You just have to, you can't go into a confessional, and there has to be a distance. Maybe you have to wear a mask, a face mask, to diminish any risk of contamination. But confessions are, I'm sure if you would approach your local priest, that he would find a way to hear your confession. Mark says, this sounds like a great idea. Would you open your airport for a few people to attend in person? Yes, I would. I would send, if you play this game, just send me a note, and I'll send you what they call a dodo code. It's like a personal invitation to my island, and then I'll just have to pick a time. The place is easy. Maybe this weekend we can do some of these experiments. Just let me know. Samuel says, at least Catholics have confession. I'm not a Catholic, and the local Protestant monastery does not have confession. Sometimes I think I should become a Catholic. I love that church so much. Well, who knows? Maybe God is pointing you the way, step by step, as usual. God never rushes us, never forces us. But Samuel is a magician as a profession. He says, I actually can eat light bulbs. An English juggler taught me that a few years ago. That's in the jingle, the Catholics eat light bulbs. So maybe you're already a proto-Catholic because you can do what most Catholics can't. Fabio says, greetings from El Salvador. I'm so excited always when I have people from South America visiting. I love the way you incorporate new technology with the everlasting message of Jesus. Yeah, that's exactly the challenge, right? It is to use a game like this. I remember seeing this game and I'm thinking, I can do something with this. I can use this for my ministry. And I did not know how. I had no idea. And then I started playing it, and it just came together. I was like, and then I wanted to build a chapel, but the game itself did not have any elements that I could use to decorate a chapel. I saw some other attempts by people creating like makeshift chapels. They did not look too convincing. But then for this month of June, right when I started playing this game, they said that there was going to be this wedding event where you have to travel to an island, and there is a newlywed couple, and they want you to make pictures of their wedding. And as a reward, if you do a good job with those pictures, they give you the decor pieces that you use for the wedding shoot. And it included this awesome backdrop of church, of stained glass windows, and they're actually 3D. If you look at there are mountains in the distance, and if I move the camera, the mountains themselves are also changing a little bit. It's a little bit hard. There you see it. If I move the camera, you'll see that you can actually look through the windows. It's really, really well done. And so and at first I only got everything in pink, and it looked pink and white. It looks extremely cheesy. But then the more every day I went back to that island to take wedding photos, and then just yesterday they gave me all these beautiful brown colored stuff, like the benches and different stained glass windows and a beautiful organ. And I was like, well, this is perfect. Wow, I just get a friend request. It's probably from someone in the chat who is watching this on YouTube. So I've received 2 friend requests, actually. Let me just look that up. I've got Commander and I've got Martin. That must be... Is that Mark? No, it's probably someone else. Is that anyone in the chat room who sent me these requests? If so, I'll send you an invite to visit me. I'm not sure how to do that. So I'm now becoming friends. Oh, Mark says I send you a friend request from AC. Commander, that's Mark. Oh, cool, Mark. That's awesome. Are you in? Yeah, you should be on your Switch right now. So what I can do is I can open my gate, the gate of my airport, and then if you look for open airports, you should be able to visit me. Let me go do that while I move over to the next segment. So let's see if that works. I'm just going to go outside here. You'll hear the music playing in the background. I'm explaining for the people that are listening to the podcast. So it is already evening on my island because the in-game time is similar to real time, even though in the Netherlands I'm looking outside my real window here and the sun has not set yet, whereas in the game it's already dark. So Josh wants to know, can you open the gate for everyone with a code? I think I can send an invite. So I'm here at the airport, on the inside of the airport, and I tell the dodo, this airport is manned by by animals that are extinct, to inspire confidence, I suppose. And I'm just going to tell this dodo to open the gates of my island, and if any one of you wants to visit, you have to go now, of course. And probably my island is called Paradisum, so it's a Latin name. And that comes from Catholic liturgy as well, from funeral liturgy, where when we say our last goodbyes, we sing a Latin chant called In Paradisum Deducante Angeli, which means to paradise. The angels will guide you to paradise. And so I thought, well, if people are visiting my island, I want them to feel like this is like paradise. So they go in paradisum. That's why my island is called Paradisum. So I'm just standing here in the lobby. I'm just going to wait for Mark to visit. You should arrive, and then you'll probably hear the sounds. In the meantime, I'm going to play the jingle for my next segment here, which is dedicated to the world of books, which is, by the way, when I have to wait for an airplane, I always read books. So this is a very suitable environment for the next segment.
When did you become an expert in thermonuclear astrophysics?
Last night. The packet. The extraction theory papers. Am I the only one who did the reading?
Oh,
again, so excited that finally life is getting more or less back to normal. Not entirely, but it's much more normal than it used to be 2 weeks ago. So I've started to build Lego and do Lego streams again, but I've also picked up reading again. Samuel from Sweden had his birthday this past weekend, and he gifted me a book. So on his birthday, he gave presents instead of receiving them. And he gifted me an audiobook. Which is the first book of the Mistborn trilogy, written by Anderson, and it is a very cool audiobook. It's very long. I think it's 24 hours. So that is an amazing. But I've heard so many good things about the Mistborn trilogy, and I did have some other books written by him, and now it says a message. Looks like someone is on their way here. So I think that Mark is on his way. Artemis says, "Are we talking about Mistborn? I need to read those." Well, I'm also starting to listen to the audiobook, and yes, Mark is coming from the island of Serenity. Are you a brown coat? I need to know. Or is that just a nice name that you wanted for your island? Tropically grown chill soul Mark. That is his surname. You can pick your own surname. You got to tell me, Mark, if Serenity, if that is a reference to Firefly or not. All right, let's see. It's the message says it's starting the descent. So. Oh, Samuel was a brown coat as well. I did not know that. Cool. David says, Mistborn is a fantastic series. Oh, cool. Yvonne is there too. And Yvonne is also one of my my friends here on the island. There is Mark. So Mark is wearing a sweater with some red and green stripes and blue stripes. And he's got gray hair and a beard and glasses. Mark is definitely a brown coat. Oh, cool. So Mark is already outside. So let me go and greet him there. So, yeah, Yvonne is also one of my earliest visitors. And I think I visited her island as well. So I'm just going to emote and say, greetings. So, of course, I cannot really hear Mark because normally in order to do that, I would have to set up a voice connection. I can't do that yet. I want to set that up on my Discord server, create a special chat room for people that are visiting me so I can record the audio. And that way, it would be perfect. Someone else is also making his or her way to the island. I don't know if that's someone who's watching the stream, but sometimes you'll just get random visitors as soon as you open the gates. Then other people are visiting too. But it's great. This is the first time that I'm getting visitors while I'm recording the show. I hope I'm not annoying the the audio listeners. Like, what the heck is he talking about? This is Alec, who is coming from Luna. Alec, are you in the chat room as well? I don't know. Let me know. So, in the meantime, starting to listen to Mistborn. And I've also finally finished a book that I started reading months ago, but I was incentivized by John Domek, also one of my friends. He said, you gotta finish it. It is the Dark Tower series. And I read the first book, The Gunslinger. I started it maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I never got through the first few chapters. I was like, what kind of book is this? I don't understand. So he said, actually, the reason that I wanted to read it is that he said, I don't like this book. It's like, what? Wait, hold on. Everybody's raving about this. So Alec is now entering also the airport. Is in black trousers, white shirt, and is wearing a mouth mask. So I hope he's not infecting my island with the coronavirus. So Samuel wants to know if you can play Animal Crossing New Horizons on the Switch Lite. Yes, absolutely. Alrighty. The Switch Lite is identical. So everyone is typing now. But so Dark Tower. I did not know what to think of this book. It is really difficult to. I have to also preface this with the fact that with the mention that I tried to watch the movie based on Dark Tower. Dark Tower is so popular that they finally turned it into a movie. I think it took like 15 years for them. And it was terrible. It was horrible. I did not like it at all. I cannot believe how you can mess up a movie based on a Stephen King novel. He is so great. And most of his books actually read like they're movies. All right, guys, if you want to follow me. Oh, gosh, and he's just sneezing in my face there. Oh, gosh, yes, I am getting infected with a digital version of the coronavirus. Oh, my God. God bless you. He also gave me an antique clock as a present. That is very kind of you. Thank you so much. That makes me really happy. So the movie, horrible. And I think it was universally panned. But Samuel says, what is wrong with you guys? The Dark Tower is the best series ever, and the ending was amazing. Well, the first book was really difficult. All right, let's go to my house here and go to my podcasting room, if that's okay with you. The first book is actually a composition. It is a collection, I should say, of 5 short stories or 5 novellas that he wrote over the span of multiple years. It tells the story of this gunslinger who is this kind of Western sci-fi. So it's this cowboy-like figure, a mysterious figure, and he is pursuing someone called the dark. What was it? The dark. Oh gosh, some dark dude, and you never really. Please take a seat if you want to. Do I have another? Yeah, I do have a rocking chair next to the bookshelf where you can sit down. It is a nice crib, definitely, Alec. Please make yourself comfortable. If do as if you're at home. So he's following this dark dude, and you don't understand why and what's going on. And at first, you're of course you kind of root for the gunslinger, but you don't really know if he's truly good, because at one point he murders an entire village because he's being threatened by some strange lady who seems to be possessed who bears a child of the Dark One, and then he actually kills the child and lets her live, and then they try to kill him, and he murders the entire village. I was like, what is this? What kind of story is this? And then he meets a boy and tells the boy about his own backstory, so his own youth. And it's also, all of a sudden, you're in a story inside the story. It's very confusing, and you hear that he's become a gunslinger, and because his father was unfaithful or his mother was unfaithful. Or, every time I was reading some of these chapters, I was like, well, I don't understand. What's going on? Why am I reading this? And then the boy itself, you think the boy is going to be his apprentice or anything. He's very positive about the boy. And then at one point, he actually, the boy meets his ends. Let's put it that way. And I was like, oh, man. And then the final quarter of the book takes a really unexpected turn, especially if you don't know what the story is about. And you suddenly start to understand, well, there is a meta story here at work. This is like a big story, like a cyclical story of the battle between good and evil, and these persons are probably just metaphors for I don't know. It's just the problem that I had with the first book is that it feels a bit disjointed, and I think it is because it is based on 5 separate stories that he did revise afterwards once he finished the entire series to make it more coherent with a bit like what Tolkien did also with The Hobbit. So he made a lot of corrections so that it would be consistent with the events in The Lord of the Rings. So Stephen King, I think, did the same. But it only works so. The issue that I had is that I did not root for the gunslinger. I did not find him particularly interesting or sympathetic or deep. It's just not a very appealing character. Now, John Domek, who actually told me, you got to finish this book. He said, hang on, I'm currently reading the second book, and it's a ton better than the first book. So, and I know that some of you in the chat room are also telling me, keep reading this. David says the dark guy is the Walking Man called Randolph Flagg. And there is Milk Dud Princess asks, are you giving a lesson to the people on your island? I just got here. I'm just recording a podcast actually while I'm walking around. This is my podcasting room. So Artemis wants to know, if you don't like The Dark Tower, what is your favorite book? That is a hard question. There are many books that I've read over and over again. I think if I compare it to Star Wars, what is my favorite Star Wars movie? The one that I watched more than any other movie in my life, it is, of course, A New Hope. John Marston is the best gunslinger, says Alec. He was sitting here in the rocking chair next to the bookshelf. I will keep that in mind. So if I would take the book that I read the most in my life, then that is probably my favorite book. It would be Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Roald Dahl. That is a book that I read, I don't know how many times. I couldn't stop reading it. And once I finished it, as a kid, I would read it again and again and again. Now, of course, that is a choice based on just the number of times. I did not read any other book this many times. Well, the Bible maybe, but you never read the entire book. But the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is, I think, the best children's book ever written. And I still would like to read it from time to time. But I just want to read other stuff. So, I don't know. Let me know, what is your favorite book? I'm always on the lookout for other ideas. Although Mistborn, 24 hours, it is I think a 600+ page book, and that's just the first in the series. That is probably going to keep me occupied for a couple of weeks, but I'll let you know. People in the chat room seem to like the fact that I'm recording this in game, and that outside through the window I can see that darkness has fallen over my island. But here in my podcasting room, it is nice and cozy, and it is high time to move over to the next segment of the show dedicated to the world of science fiction. So let's play the jingle here. And Alex says one of his favorite books is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. That is rare. You don't, by Victor Hugo. You don't hear that very often. But it is a great story, very compelling story. I actually really like the Disney animated movie based on The Hunchback. Great songs as well.
I see aliens. Little aliens from outer space.
And how are things in outer Plutonia?
How many times have I told you not to wear your space boots in the house?
Go the shape I'm in, you can donate my body to science fiction.
Get your suit on! We need you!
It's so fun to have people actually react to what I say on the podcast. So Alec is like, oh gosh, yes, I did like the Disney movie as well. So he's applauding my recommendation there. I'm standing next to my telescope because this is the segment where we watch the stars and we try to find a science fiction story to talk about. David in the chat says, my favorite book is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Always know where my towel is. Well, speaking of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, that was my very first science fiction video game that I ever played. And you may say, wait, what? Video game? Yes. I am from the age where adventures were just text adventures. And the very first text adventure that I played on my TRS-80, which is a very ancient computer. This is way before the dawn of the internet. On my TRS-80, I had an adventure called Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I'd never heard of the books. This was also way before the internet, way before we could order books online. This was a book that was not part of the library. So I did not know about it, but I played this video game, and it was this weird story, which was so compelling. You wake up, I think, in a house, and then all of a sudden you hear something rumbling outside, and it turns out there's a huge truck or whatever it is, and it is about to demolish your house. And then you go outside, and you're, I think, beamed up by a flying saucer, by a spaceship, and then there's this entirely wacky story. But because it was a text adventure, you could actually, I felt like I was part of the story. This is the very first text adventure that I ever played. And so Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy still remains one of my all-time favorite text adventures, because it was the very first time that I experienced being part of the story, influencing the story. And it was very simple. You just had to type words, and the parser was very limited. So you could say west, and then you walk west. There is a wall here. East. You walk east. You're back in your garden. The spaceship is still hovering above you. North. You are in front of the crew that is about to demolish your house. And then say, don't demolish my house. I don't understand that command. Please try to rephrase it. So the parser, every time it didn't understand, so it was very limited. It was based on a certain combination of words that would unlock, for instance, a clue or whatever. And you had to keep track of where you were. So I would take this piece of paper, divide it into rows and little blocks, and I would just literally every location, I would fill in where I was. So the garden was one block, and then north of that, I would make it so that is the road, and then there would be a cafe on the left. And so because it was just text, you had to really track where you were going. And sometimes you would get into mazes. There were other, like Zork. I played Zork. That was so cool. That was actually a much older Dungeons and Dragons text adventure. But Zork, you needed to draw the maze in which you were. Otherwise, you would never get through the game. But what was so fantastic, it was the TRS-80 was a black screen, and you just had these green letters on your screen. But in my mind, I was in a 3D movie that is unlike anything that I've seen afterwards in VR. It was so cool. And then the second text adventure, even before I played Zork, was, I think, the Wild West or something like that. It was a, what was that brand? Later, they made a ton of adventures. I think they're no longer in existence. Oh, something with info. Let me look that up. No, I'm not going to Google that. That takes too much time. But anyway, and that took place in the Wild West, and you could enter this village, and there was a saloon, and you could talk to people. And again, it was just text. The story itself was nothing to write home about, but it was the fact that in my mind, I was in a Wild West movie. It was so absolutely fantastic. I'm getting a text message. Oregon Trail is good too. I never played that one. That's also a classic game on these old computers, these DOS computers. But TRS-80 was not DOS based. It was not Microsoft. So I don't think that I ever played Oregon Trail. I think I downloaded an iOS version of that game. That was more procedurally generated, I think. Oregon Trail, where you'd basically travel through the Wild West, and you have to keep your caravan alive or something like that. But the events would be random, I think. There was little... It wasn't really an adventure. It was just a kind of a survival type game. As far as I understand it, I may be totally wrong. But there is something to science fiction books that has always... that I always loved, and I even prefer it above science fiction movies. There is one book, and I think I've mentioned this before, but many of you are newer listeners, so you may not remember. There was this one book. I still kept the pocketbook version, the real paper book version of it. It's called The Asgard Run. I don't think it's available anymore, but I love that book. You're exploring this big spaceship that has been on Earth for centuries, and nobody knows how it came there. And I'm just going to type that in. Asgard Run. I probably have to look it up on Amazon. I don't think there is a Kindle version. Otherwise, I would have bought it. No, there's only a paper version of this book. This is insane. It's written by Steve Vance. I don't think he's alive anymore. It's still available. The paperback version costs €14.37. So the description here, this is one of my favorite science fiction novels because of the atmospheric description of that huge spaceship. So here's the description on Amazon. Roger Griffin's lifetime dream lay before him. He stood within an immense interstellar vessel that had lain beneath the Wyoming mountains for millennia. It had remained a virtual impenetrable fortress to the scientific teams that prowled its 2-mile-long exterior until they managed to pry open the door. Then the dream of scientific discovery became a horrific nightmare as an earthquake awakened the long-dormant brain of the malfunctioning spacecraft and rocked the door shut. Griffin and his fellow survivors frantically tried to escape, but the ship's computer took steps to rescue itself and exterminate the humans on board. Suddenly, the newly awakened control room displayed a clock for its terrified inhabitants to see. Its lights blinked in and off, but the message was clear. 6 hours until lift off. 6 hours to live. 6 hours to die. I mean, isn't that the most amazing summary of a science fiction story you've ever heard? It makes me go back to that book. I want to read it again. This is just that. Why isn't there a Kindle version? I know that if there would be a Kindle version, just by my review alone, many of you would probably listen to or read the book. Let me see. Steve Vance. There's no author information. That is too bad. He wrote one other novel. I did not know that. It's called The Abyss. Would that be the book? No, that's probably not. Oh, I was like The Abyss. Is that the book that inspired the movie? But it is not. This is about an old house. Sounds like a horror story. Now, I want to know if Steve Vance... Why isn't he even mentioned? I mean, I can't believe that I'm the only one who knows about this book. I think I bought it in a secondhand bookstore. And this must have been while I was still in seminary. The book is from the year 2000, or this print is from 2000. So that would be before I went to Rome even. There is no Wikipedia entry on Steve Vance. It is available on eBay. Wow. I don't find anything about this. Looks like someone else is on their way here. That is cool. We get another visitor. Well, that's what you get when you keep your airport open. I can't find any information about Steve Vance. Well, this is a call for those of you that are listening and are maybe even more, book lover than I am. If you can find more information about this author and about this story, I definitely would like to hear it. So, that would be my recommendation. It's kind of hard to recommend this book because there are only a few copies left on Amazon. But if you can get a hold of one of these books, maybe in a secondhand bookstore, let me know. This book deserves to be on Kindle. It deserves to be read. It's amazing. I want to read it again. And actually, this is just one of those books that I think would have been a fantastic 80s movie. You know, these catastrophe movies where they're locked into a ship that is slowly sinking, stuff like that. This is like the science fiction equivalent of that story. It's all about survival. It's all about this, in a way, it's kind of a science fiction play on the story of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory as well. After all, the Chocolate Factory is like a big, wondrous spaceship where they discover all these different areas, and it's lethal. It is very dangerous. All these kids that are not worthy of becoming the next owner of the Chocolate Factory, they all come to their not their end, because I think most of them survive, but they all get hurt by the factory. It's actually a much darker story than it initially seems. So we have another visitor here on the island, and it is I don't know, who is that? Oh, someone is visiting. I just missed the name, but anyway, if you're actually in the chat room watching me record this, then make yourself at home in my room. Let's move over. I've got to start wrapping things up. There is one final topic that I would briefly want to mention here, but I'm going to discuss it in depth on my patron-only podcast, and that is the news that Mac OS is going to be transferred to the ARM architecture. So the chips that Apple makes themselves, they're going to step away from the Intel architecture of chips. And so that is if that is true, that rumor is true, then this is an amazing new step for Apple and may have tremendous consequences for their computers and maybe also for their mobile devices, because it means that they can use the same chip inside their iPads, iPhones, and in their computers, in their Macs. So I'll also discuss Android 11. The beta came out on some phones, and here's another list of stuff that I'm going to talk about while I start playing the end jingle. I'm going to give you a recipe of the onion soup that I made the other day. We'll also talk about comic books. I'll talk about the PlayStation 5 reveal that right now is still going to happen in the future. By the time you're listening to this podcast, it has already happened. So I'll give you my initial impressions right off the cuff after the event in Father Roderick to the Max. And I include a new segment on that show, which is my media review. It can be a review of a website, a podcast, or a video game. And I have a fantastic, and I want to welcome someone else to my podcasting room. It's Elise, and she has an amazing costume, I have to say. So welcome in my podcasting room. So glad you could join us. Also wearing a face mask, so stay safe. Alec, thank you so much for visiting, and Mark, also wonderful to meet you here on the island. Let's do this again, and then next time we'll do some audio as well. So keep an eye on my website, fatherroderick.com, for more information. And again, I'm being sneezed at. It is really, really. This is not good. I'm getting infected on my own island. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Anyway, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. And if you're a patron, you have another show to look forward to today. So go to www.patreon.com/FatherRoderick. Support me, even with a small donation every month, and you'll get to listen to another hour with much more content. And while the people in my digital podcast room are applauding the end of the show, I want to applaud you for taking an hour of your life to listen to this. And hopefully I'll meet you somewhere on YouTube, on Facebook, or anywhere else. Take care, and God bless. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. All right, that was a lot of fun. Let's go outside. I'm going to close the gates because it is time for me to wrap things up. It's already 8:15 in the evening. Wow. And someone else is visiting me. Well, wow, isn't that surprising how many visits I get? I never get this many visitors. Usually I have one person or something. Maybe it is because I'm streaming and people know that my airport is open. Feel free, if you're on my island, by the way, and you're still watching the stream, to just walk around and take a look for yourself. This is Inexperienced Eggy from Endor, and he has already visited me once before or so, but this is maybe last week. So my island has already changed quite a bit. Of course, when someone is visiting, you always have to wait for them to land, and the entire game is on hold, which is very annoying. But someone told me the other day that this is something that Nintendo did on purpose to prevent cheating. So it really wants you to wait until everything is safe and secure, because otherwise people would probably be able to hack the system and find ways to, I don't know, visit islands illegally and steal the money trees or whatever. So I can live with it. I'm fine. Oh, Alec was the gaming politician. I did not know that, Alec. Thanks for sneezing in my face multiple times. I hope you don't do that in real life. Anywho, Artemis says this was an hour well spent. And Chiara says it was a great show. Chiara has finished reading the first Harry Potter book. Congratulations, you're in for a treat. If you've never read the Harry Potter saga, it is one of my favorite series. I love it so much. Alex says this was an epic gamer moment. You mean infecting me with digital COVID? What is it? COVID crossing? All right, let me go and welcome the new visitor here. Oh, and Superhero Seamstress was Elise. Is also on my island. Thank you so much for visiting my island. That was cool. And someone else is visiting. Oh my gosh, this is going to be crowded. How many people can be here max on the island? I got to give you guys a tour of my island. I'm so proud of what I've built, even though most of it was inspired by another YouTuber that I saw this island and I was like, I need to figure out how to make that on my own island. And so I learned all the tricks of terraforming from that person. Oh, Charmander is also visiting from Mola Mola. And Charmander is in the US on the West Coast and has helped me out tremendously. So I think she's got a young child, so she's up usually at very irregular times, even when the entire world is sleeping. But is much more, has been playing this game for many weeks, and so has really helped me out in the first few days of the game. Samuel says, don't tempt me to get this game, it's far too expensive. Yes, it is. It is expensive. But hey, for me, it's a business expense, right? I do this. This is my recording environment. It's much cheaper than to build a real podcasting studio. Yeah, Mark wants to return for my special service if it happens. Yeah, if you're a patron, then I can let you know. Charmander has a nice wooden paper crown and is wearing a very colorful rainbow dress. So very cool. Amy says, I'd like to visit sometime. I just don't normally know when your airport is open. Yes, that is kind of hard. I can't communicate to everyone when my airport is open. Maybe I should post it on social media, but then everyone can see that. What you can always do is send me a note if you want to visit my island, an email or something like that, and with your screen name. Because I cannot guess who is who if. I gotta greet people. Let's use some emoticons here and applaud. Alrighty. So if you guys are listening to this, I'm just gonna give you a tour of my island. Should I type that in? Typing is always hard. Just follow. I hope you guys follow me. How do I type? I even forgot. Follow me. Typing is a pain in this game. I know I can use the app, but the phone is elsewhere in the room. Follow me. That takes like an hour. Confirm. Some people have really cool costumes. All right, so I'm just going to give you a tour of what the island looks like right now. Here is my house. This is the marketplace. Oh, someone else is leaving. So we have to wait again. Security measures. Oh, boy, oh, boy. Chiara, that is true. You're Missy. I forgot about that. You visited my island too. I think last week. Yeah, I think I sent you a best friend request, and it says it's still being processed. So, because I can't message my best friends, but we need to figure out a way. Not all of you are on my Discord server, because that's for patrons. Maybe I can set something up with it. Let me talk that through with Inge, my producer, and see if we can, or community manager, and see if we can get like special access to the Discord server for the Animal Crossing people. All right, so we're going this way. I think I already lost my visitors. No, I'm using an app. So this way, ladies and gentlemen, follow me. I'm gonna go up here to my little T corner. That's right here on the left. I got 4 people following me now. That is too cool. Oh no, looks like someone's on their way here. We'll just sit down and have a cup of tea here in my nice Oriental tea garden. But you can use the app, the Nintendo Switch app on your phone to type, and it's much easier. Actually, while that new person is arriving, let me fire up that app, see if I can use it to communicate, because that will make it slightly easier. And then the app also allows you to do voice chat. Maybe, I'm just going to start that. Maybe they can hear me in game. That would make it easier. Can I turn up the volume? How does this work? Oh, wait a minute. Did it just quit? I think the app just quit. No, now it launches the... Yeah, the app just quit. Okay, great. Animal Crossing New Horizons. So where's my voice chat? Oh, yeah, definitely the game just quit. And now I can't launch the, there we go. This is Deku from the Shire with an island that is called the Shire. You're more than welcome. Okay, I'm going to start the voice chat. If you are in the game, let me know if you hear this. Because my screen does not tell me if it's working or not. But if you guys can hear me... Oh.
Oh, hello, Father.
Hey, Alec, I can hear you all right. That's great.
Please tell me you didn't hear what I was saying to my sister before you joined in, because there was a lot of unwholesome language.
I did not hear it. You're on the air right now, so everyone can hear you, but I just missed that.
No, I'm talking about like a few seconds ago before you joined in.
No, I did not hear that, Alec. So I hope the others can also hear me. It is still cool.
You know what? Now that I have you on here, I just want to say, like, I know I bring a lot of memes and stuff. I'm not trying to be annoying. I do want to let you know I genuinely enjoy your channel, and I love the wholesomeness of it. Like, I'm not trying to troll or anything. I'm just, you got to be an epic gamer, whenever you're doing this kind of stuff. Yeah,
Don't worry about it.
I really enjoy your YouTube channel, and I love the community that's built around this.
Well, it is great that you're part of the community, and it's even greater that you're currently on my island. I don't know if everyone can hear me.
Yes, it is.
But I'm just going to continue my tour. Hopefully people will follow me. So I created this nice garden. What I try to do in this game is make it feel much bigger than it actually is by making sure that the horizon is almost always obfuscated. So here you can jump over a little road here, and we can follow this path next to the main square. So it's impossible to hide it. This is going to be my big next extension. So I cleared out my entire orchard. So where this other animal is walking around a little bit dazed and confused. So where are all the trees? Well, I removed them because I wanted to... no, don't go down there. We have to bring you back.
Okay, I'm sorry.
There's an easier road.
I just wanted to see what you cleared out.
I know. We'll get there. We'll take the other road. We'll go back.
Roderick is a deforestation, or what the word is. I don't know what the word is.
Yes, it is deforestation, definitely.
Deforestation, or like the act of...
Well, I planted
really my words here.
I planted 100 fruit trees, so I would make easy money because I need a lot of money for all the stuff that I buy. Let's see. Can I go down?
You gotta make them folds.
Yes. All right. I have some stairs here. Let me bring you to the beach. So this looks like a meteorite shower has hit the island. So here's my little outcropping with a campfire, and usually I sit here and wait for falling stars or whatever. I don't have enough benches for all of you. I'll just stand. But this is a really nice place to relax. I want to put a music player here so we can have a party, like an evening party on the beach. That sounds like the proper thing to do. So we'll go past the waterfall here, and I'll just walk along the beach. These flowers are here because I didn't want to throw them away, but they were definitely making it harder for me to build. We can go in here. This is where the museum is. There's some stuff here, some recipes. Not much.
I lost the group.
No! Just head south. Head south. You'll find us. Follow the beach until you're at the water.
Okay.
We'll just wait for you. There you are.
Okay.
There you are.
There we go. Okay.
So, anyway, so...
oh, wait.
Huh?
Oh, never mind. Sorry. I was thinking out loud. Go ahead.
Okay, don't worry. This is another... I want to build a small restaurant here where you can sit overlooking the square. And the square here on the left is going to be the marketplace. So I want to literally put stuff that I have that I want to share. I want to put it up there for people to take it if they need it. And I'm going to move the Able Sisters. I want to move that to also to the shopping street. And here I created just yesterday a little ramp so you can enter the main square. That's about it.
How much time traveling did you do for all this? I mean, you had to have time travel.
I did a little bit too much time travel, yes, because I really wanted to finish my house because of the podcasting and the shows. So I did do some traveling back and forth especially to kind of clear out the stuff. My house used to be here in this patch where you have all the flowers. But I wanted to put it closer to the airport, so if I would have people over for my show, it would be easier to point them to the blue house. This is going to be a nice French restaurant.
Discipline, young Skywalker.
Yes.
You lack patience.
I know. I don't have patience. I don't care about patience. Yeah. If time travel exists, I will use it. The only thing, look at my golden roses here. I did not do any time travel for that.
Whoa, wait! This is a thing in the game? I did not know that.
Yes, you can make golden roses. It's like a very rare thing. Please don't run through my flowers here because you'll ruin them.
You know what that reminds me of? I know you haven't played Breath of the Wild yet, right? Because there's a side quest in the game where you have to navigate through a maze of flowers in this woman's garden in order to get to a treasure. And if you touch her flowers, she attempts to kill you. Like she goes full psycho.
Seriously?
That was
Breath of the Wild.
Side quest in that game. So
Breath of the Wild. That sounds.
Father Roderick will. He will go full sicko mode.
That sounds so familiar. What is that? Breath of the Wild. What franchise is that?
Zelda, The Legend of
Zelda. Oh, of course. Yeah, it just came in the mail. I have it now.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah, I got it. Awesome. It was on sale on Dutch Amazon. So
I can assure you, it is the best video game ever made. Period.
Oh, seriously?
In my opinion, at least.
Oh, wow.
In my opinion.
Oh, look here.
Spoiler alert! Oh no, I'm sorry.
I already forgot about it.
Sorry,
I haven't. Don't emphasize it. I'll forget it right away. It's not stored in my memory banks yet. But
it's a side quest.
I did.
You are gonna love it. It is a fantastic game.
Should I stream it or not?
Yes.
Yes,
absolutely.
Would people enjoy that?
So many hilarious moments for me in Breath of the Wild. Like the physics engine, the way the game works, and solving the puzzles. It's fantastic.
Wow.
You should definitely stream it.
Oh, cool. Well, I will then. In the meantime, I'm trying to get everybody confused. This is a very confusing maze of little alleys and.
How do you memorize this? Well, then again, you're the one who built it.
I built it. Now, there's this secret alley that brings you to the waterfall. You have to really know. Oh, Charmander has already found it. How is that possible? Oh. So you go left to the drinking machine, and then here is my little dim sum bar, and so this is a nice place. I like the sound of that waterfall. So I got 2 games. Both of them were discounted the other day. So I got Breath of the Wild, because everybody told me it's the best game ever. So, yes, I want to play that. And then the other game that I bought just came in the day before yesterday is Xenoblade Chronicles, the ultimate version. And
yes.
I played.
You're gonna love that.
I played Xenoblade.
Avoid spoilers.
I know. I played part of the Xenoblade just for a couple of weeks on the Wii, when I still had the Wii, and then I sold my Wii and I lost access to that game, or I think I sold it with the game. I just didn't have time to play it back then, and I saw it came out, and it looked so amazing on the Switch. It was like, okay, I need to play this again, and especially because the big Switch, you can hook it up to a monitor. So right now I have this widescreen monitor, so on the right, and I can split it up into 2 screens. So I've got all my streaming software on the left part of the monitor, and on the right I have the big screen version of this game. And I figured, well, I can do that with Xenoblade as well, and play it as if. And on the Wii, it looked pretty terrible on a big screen. It's very low resolution. I think the Wii wasn't even HD or 720p. It was very low quality graphics. Still an amazing game.
You gotta get component cables.
Yes, yeah. That made it a little bit better, but it's still very, blurry. No, I run
all my gaming stuff through a upscaler called the FrameMeister. You should definitely look it up. Or if you have any retro game consoles, look up the FrameMeister. Great external scaling.
Oh, really?
Device.
Makes
old games look like new.
Seriously, wow.
Yes.
I love it.
FrameMeister. It's a strange word, but it's a great upscaler.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, this was my island. Okay, I got to show you this is the garbage can stuff, and then here, this is going to be the park, so I've got a little play garden for the kids. And of course, since I'm Dutch, I have 2 bikes. One to ride on, and the other one is the bike when the other bike gets stolen, which is also a reality when you're Dutch.
Can't have anything in Detroit.
Oh gosh, I wish I could ride a bike for real in this game, because there's so much potential in this franchise, and there are a lot of things I would like to do on the island, and I can't. I'd like to. Why aren't there any cars on the island? That would be so much fun to just go and.
It's Mackinac Island. Mackinac Island.
Mackinac Island? What is that?
Oh, you've never heard of it? Oh, it's a island where no cars are allowed. It's in Michigan. It's basically an island frozen in time. It's awesome. They have an old military fort there. There's the Grand Hotel. You should definitely check it out. I go there every summer. It's beautiful.
Bye, Elise. Elise is going back home. I need to start
No, Elise, no.
Everyone's going home. No. Oh well. And now we're gonna wait for 5 times. They bling, 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 and everything freezes.
Father, follow me real quick.
Oh, hold on.
Over here real quick, please.
Where are you?
Okay.
What did? Oh, there you are. Yeah, I see.
So
you.
I like what you've done here. It's a nice reflection of my personality.
Yeah. What do you mean? Like it's garbage?
Yeah.
Okay.
Self-deprecation, gang.
I just like this is little stuff like this. This is not my own idea. This is based on another island, but I love the detail of that island. There were so many of these random things, but they make sense. It makes sense if you have an island to have a garbage disposal place and to have drink machines next to the airport. And it's these little details that made me understand that if you want to build an environment that feels real, so I really wanted to have this kind of oriental city, it needs to be cluttered, but it's still, every object needs to have its purpose. And I try to improve even on the island. It's just to make it, make everything have a certain purpose. Anyway, everyone's leaving now.
I was gonna say, if you want to make your island realistic, it's not very handicap friendly. If you're gonna be like jumping over little crevices to get from one side to the other.
That is true. Are there wheelchairs on Animal Horizons?
You gotta build ramps like with an elevator on them. They take a person in a wheelchair to the top, and then they have to go down this ramp and jump over.
Yes, I know. Well, I'll just make a special area for people that are less mobile. Let's put it that way.
Yes, that is brilliant.
Oh, Mike in this chat room says the movie Somewhere in Time was filmed on Mackinac Island. I thought a lot of islands were free of cars. Well, that's good to know.
So it's so weird because like Mackinac Island is such a wonderful island, but Mackinac City, which is on the shoreline south of it, is awful. It is one of the worst cities in Michigan. So you have to really struggle through some garbage in order to get to the good stuff. So
cool.
You know, just if you visit Mackinac Island, I suggest maybe you stay in a hotel in a more remote area because Mackinac City is just terrible, just absolutely horrible.
Okay. Well, I'll look it up. I'll Google it first. Maybe I'll visit it in what is it? The Google Maps in my VR glasses. It's Wanderer.
Awesome. Yes.
And it really, you can visit places and it feels like you've been there. Age says, I drew on your board, Father. That is cool. Thank you.
I have a Google Earth VR with my Rift S, and that's really
you've got
cool.
a Rift S. Oh, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, it's don't be jealous. You should it's a good headset, but it's got so many issues. Like it constantly loses. Well, not constantly, but it sometimes loses tracking, and there's a cable for it that gets tangled up. If you're gonna get a VR headset, I recommend you go with either the Oculus Quest or just go all out and get a Valve Index.
Yeah, I have the Quest actually. I just don't have the computer to, and nor do I have the cable because it's not available in the Netherlands to hook it up to the computer. I would love to use it in conjunction with the. I have a library on Steam of games that I picked up. Sometimes they put VR games on sale, and even though I didn't have a Rift, I did buy these games, and so there are a ton of games I would love to play on the Quest, but I don't have a computer that runs it, so I want to build a new one.
Well, I mean, I imagine you make some decent revenue off of YouTube. Like you just go all out. Go for like a Core go for a 10900K CPU and a 2080 Ti graphics card. And there you go, boom, 4K VR.
I should, yes. Well, actually, the YouTube revenue is extremely disappointing.
Oh, that's right.
I think I make $20 per month or something like that. No, but
actually going back to something earlier, I know this is like kind of veering off topic again, but going back to something we were talking about earlier, if I actually recommend that you visit Mackinac Island in person because the Great Lakes are actually in serious danger. When Governor Snyder, who was a Republican, when he was governor of Michigan, he made a shady, underhand deal with a company called Enbridge. It's a Canadian oil company, and Enbridge had this oil pipeline going underneath the Mackinac Bridge, and it was meant to be temporary, and it was only supposed to last 10 years, and it's been 60 years, and it hasn't been replaced yet. So there is a high risk of a massive oil spill happening in the Great Lakes, and if that happens, Mackinac Island would be just economically ruined, probably be abandoned and turned into a ghost town, probably, in my opinion. But so if you're going to visit Mackinac Island, I say do it in real life and make it soon because
where is that island?
Greed is a.
Where in the world is it? I have no idea.
You can just Google it on Google Maps.
Okay,
if you look up Mackinac Island, it'll bring you straight to it.
I'm just going to type it in.
I highly recommend you visit it in real life, definitely.
Mackinac. I've never heard of this, but then again, what do I know?
Beautiful island.
Okay, so I'm zooming out, and where am I here? Beaver Island. I was zooming out, and I still don't recognize where I am. This is like a lake area. Oh, it's above Michigan. It's above Michigan. Yes. That's in the area where Mike Kuipers lives, right? No, wait a minute. Is he up there? No, he's on the other side, right? I always forget where you live, Mike Kuipers. Wow, so this is near the Canadian border.
Yes.
How do you get there? Yes. You fly to Detroit to take a car?
You can fly or you can take a ferry. There's ferry services. I usually go by ferry because it's just so amazing riding on the water.
Wow.
They have a small airport, so... there's no, and like I said earlier, there's no cars allowed on the island. You, the only way you can travel is either by walking, bike riding, or taking a horse and buggy.
Oh, that sounds like my thing. Well, I mean, it sounds similar to islands that we have in the Netherlands where you can't drive. You can only ride a bike.
Oh my God! This dude just robbed the Able sisters. This dude just robbed it.
Who? What? Where?
Maggie, get back here. Wait.
No, it's okay. It's okay. But everything that's mine is yours.
Yes, socialism.
Samuel just sent me a couple of more dollars for my new computer. Oh, Mike Kuipers lives in the Lower Peninsula, so that's the southeast area. Okay. I've never been in that area.
I live in Oh yeah, sure, Ege, sure. Yeah, we'll see you in court, buddy. Oh yeah, you should build a courthouse here. Well, I guess you kind of already. Well, actually, no, it's a town hall.
I'll create a prison. I'll build a prison island. I'll just make a lake and then put an island in the middle of it.
Funny thing. There's actually a location in Xenoblade Chronicles called Prison Island. So.
Yes. So where do you live?
He paid with a drawing. He didn't use real currency. Arrest him.
No, it's fine. I'll just sell the drawing. Oh, this is too much fun. All right, I'm gonna start wrapping things up. At least I'm gonna wrap up the YouTube stream. I'll still stay in game for a while.
Yeah.
And
I got something else to do. I'm gonna be doing a reaction live stream. I don't mean to self-promote here, so actually I probably shouldn't say.
Oh, you have a YouTube channel? No, go ahead, promote.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I'm gonna be doing a reaction live stream on my YouTube channel to the PlayStation 5 event. So.
Oh, cool.
I'm gonna start that around 3:00. Probably play some Uncharted until it starts. Just.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
where's your YouTube channel? How do I find your YouTube channel?
Oh, just
give me the name.
You just find my name in the thing. Yeah. You really don't have to do this. I mean, it's honestly not very polite of me to talk about my own.
No,
events.
I want to see it. I want to see it. I'm just curious. Who cares?
Okay.
Unless you don't want me to see it. But
I'm the gaming politician in the.
Oh, just the entire name. The gaming politician.
I should warn you, there's some very controversial, unorthodox political opinions stated on there. So if you have a weak heart, probably not go on my YouTube channel.
I'm Dutch. I can stomach a lot. Don't worry about it. Oh, I see it. Yeah.
Yes, nationalistic deprecation.
Reaction live stream. Very cool. Alrighty. Well, I had not discovered your YouTube channel yet. You may have mentioned it during one of the other chats or streams, but it's the first time visiting.
Oh no, I do not. I do not like self-promoting on other people's channels. I just started to say the idea, and then I was like, oh wait, no, that's not.
No. I don't mind at all. I don't mind at all. I'll mute you. I'll just move the microphone, the app away from the microphone if I don't want anything. But no, I don't mind. I think it's always interesting to get tips for a place to visit. Hey guys, going home. Safe travels. Thanks for visiting. That was really enjoyable.
Keep leaving with the evidence.
I know. It's not a problem. Whatever he stole, I can grow it again. So, JJA, I've got a visitor in the chat who's like, I don't know where, who is chatting to who, but this is just a chat, like a voice chat yeah. It's kind of hard to explain all these virtual realities in which we're communicating. Anywho, but what time does the PS5 event start? Is that tonight? U.S. time?
It's at 4:00 Eastern Standard Time, 1:00 Pacific Standard Time. So I don't know what.
Oh, that's okay. That's 10 o'clock Central European time.
I cannot do the maths.
Oh, that's six hours.
Actually, where I am, it's 2:45 p.m. Here in Michigan. So starts in an hour and 15 minutes.
Right.
So it starts at 4:00 Eastern Standard.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's 10 o'clock my time. I can still watch it, and I wanted to record my reaction anyway. So very cool. So we got Ruby visiting us.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely record your reaction, because I mean this is going to be a really ambitious, interesting console generation. I mean they're both the Xbox Series X, PS5. They're going to be using AMD Zen 2 architecture. They're going to have dedicated ray tracing cores. This is going to be very interesting. Very interesting.
I'm still very partial to the Xbox. I do love I used to have a PlayStation 4. I don't have it anymore. But what I loved about the Xbox is the backwards compatibility. I thought they did an amazing job. Yes. And I cannot stand that PlayStation makes us rebuy these games over and over again. Nintendo also does that. But
well, they had good backwards compatibility. Like the GameCube could be played on Wii, and then the Wii could be played on the Wii U. So it's just a switch. Bit. I mean, maybe they should make a disc add-on that you can connect via USB or something. Or I know that there are those external DVD drives that you can hook up via USB to your computer. So. Ooh, maybe someone should homebrew that. Somebody homebrew that. That would be awesome.
We'll see. I'm going to say goodbye to the YouTube audience. Thank you so much for stopping by and for bearing with us in these in-game chats. But it was very enjoyable to have you participate in the experience. So have a wonderful rest of your evening. Enjoy the PlayStation 5 event if you're going to watch that. And I'll be back soon with more experiments here in the world of Animal Crossing. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe and leave a comment so I know that you're out there. Talk to you guys soon. Take care.
Thumb up.
Bye-bye.
Or you have big dumb.